Well, it can happen in an instant and at any age. We're talking about stroke. And the recent deaths of actor Luke Perry and director John Singleton, both in their early 50s, are a shocking reminder of that. Stroke is the 5th leading cause of death in the United States and a leading cause of disability. Yet 80% of strokes are preventable if you know what the warning signs are. Here to tell us more about stroke prevention and ways to stay heart healthy are American Heart Association spokespersons Dr. Lourdes Nunez, Medical Director of Encompass Health Rehabilitation Hospital of Miami, and Alexander Almazan, incoming chair of the Miami Heart Walk. Welcome to both of you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Such an important topic, Doctor. Let's talk about what a stroke actually is. What causes stroke?
A stroke essentially is when there's a blockage of blood flow to the brain, whether it's a big artery or a small artery, anything that blocks the flow of blood deprives that part of the brain from oxygen, and those cells start to die. They die rather quickly. So when we see a stroke, we definitely want to act upon that immediately.
Yeah, we've heard the term from the medical community, time is brain. Explain to us what that is.
What that is that since we have technology now that we can impact how soon we can get blood flow back to the brain, we've noticed that the quicker you get to that brain and get the blood flow back, the less damage you have. And we would lose about 2 million brain cells per minute.
Wow.
When there's no blood flow there. So it's a big impact if you let it go on minute after minute, minutes to hours. You can imagine you can lose a lot of brain tissue.
Right. We usually hear too, we've heard about stroke in older people, in the older population. But like I just mentioned with Luke Perry and John Singleton, we're starting to see it in younger people as well. What's happening here? Has it always been that way where there's just more attention to it now, or more people really are at risk?
I think more people are at risk. Some of our lifestyle choices are not so good for us. High stress jobs, poor diets, obesity. There are some populations that have an earlier onset of high blood pressure and severe high blood pressure. These are all factors that go into making this statistic more obvious today.
And I want to get to Alexander and talk about this heart walk that's coming up. But before we do that, and you're the chairman of it, but you've been involved with the American Heart Association for quite some time. Tell me about that, because your day job is you're an attorney.
Correct.
But your volunteer work is with the Heart Association. So tell us why you decided to get involved.
Yeah, so first of all, Pam, thanks for having us. So I would tell you that we're going on about 12 years now that I've been involved at a national level. And a lot of times when people get involved at a national level, they've had the local level first. I'm doing it the other way around. After having a lot of experience with the organization at a national level, and seeing what they do on a scientific level that a lot of times doesn't get the press that we need to hear about, it's time to really get involved in a local community, chair the Heart Walk, get thousands of people to attend, start increasing that awareness, that education, and really getting people to understand what these amazing physicians like Dr. Nunez do, not only in the pre-stroke prevention, but in what she works in, which is the post-stroke care that goes to families and the victims themselves.
Yeah, and I bet you've met so many people through your work all these years that they got involved because they had an incident in their family. Somebody had a stroke, or dad had a heart attack, or somebody was disabled because of stroke, right? And that's when they started to really get educated about it.
That really is. Unfortunately, the education comes after. So oftentimes it's somebody near you who's been affected, so then you go learn about it. And really what the AHA has done a really great job of is creating the awareness before that happens.
Yeah.
The inspiration for me and what I do comes from not only those who've been affected by it and their families, but the people who work for the AHA are unbelievable when you speak to them. There's some of them here. Their passion for what they do working in that nonprofit sector to try and really truly promote and help, where we have over 83 million Americans that are affected by high blood pressure. Over 40% of Americans are affected by high cholesterol. It's a problem that she led to. And in the last 10 years, there's been a decrease in the amount of cardiovascular disease and stroke, but over the last 5, we've seen an uptick, and that's concerning. Right? On a larger level, you can see the statistics and say, great, we're in a better place than we were 10 years ago, but we're in a worse place than we were just 4 to 5 years ago. And that's a reality that requires people like Dr. Nunez and myself and those to continue our advocacy.
Yeah, and let's talk about education and what people need to look for. We were speaking earlier about how a lot of people we're getting to know more about heart health. The Go Red for Women campaign has educated a lot of women about their own heart health, but we don't necessarily know that much about stroke. So one of the things that you tell people and we try to educate people about is FAST. So talk about what that acronym stands for, and we do have a full screen of it so people can kind of follow along. What does FAST stand for, and why is it so important?
Well, FAST stands for 4 things to do when you first see somebody that you think may be something wrong with them. The first thing is you look at the face. You know, is there a droopy mouth? Can they not smile normally with both sides of the mouth going up? So something wrong with their face. You know, their eye is shut, they can't open it. That's an obvious abnormality. This, A is for arm. Is there any arm weakness? Is their arm just not working, or they don't seem to control it? That's another part of that. S is for speech. Is the person having a speech difficulty? Are they talking to you in gibberish? Are they saying something that doesn't make sense, or they are not talking to you at all? That's also a sign of stroke. And T is the most important of them all, because T means time. And T means you dial 911. It's extremely important to dial 911.
Yeah, and talk about that, because you were saying people call their brother-in-law, they call mom. You're calling all the wrong people and you're wasting time, right?
Right. See, part of the education and the medical community is well aware of the time limits that we have with strokes. And so they're ready to receive any patient that is in what we call a stroke alert. So if you call 911 and you tell the operator, my mom is having a stroke, that automatically triggers this whole system. You're going to have 911 get to you as quick as possible, and they're going to take you to the appropriate hospital, because some of the technology that we have to help you actually treat and reverse that stroke is only available in certain hospitals. And the EMS system is the one who knows which hospital you need to go to. Right. So that's why it's best to leave it in their hands to take you. They take you there quicker, safer, and to the appropriate hospital.
And it's critical too, don't you think, that we're all aware of this, because if somebody's having a stroke, he or she, because of that speech difficulty, can't necessarily articulate what's happening to them, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. It's scary for some of us who, as we like to maintain our independence, and as we get older, we like to live alone, and there's no one to help us. And sometimes that is dangerous. So we really recommend people who are older to have some kind of life alert, some kind of button that they can press in case something is going on, that will initiate the system of 911 for them.
And then also talk about blood pressure. When we go to the doctor, what should we be looking for? What do we need to understand about our own blood pressure?
Well, it's good that you said go to the doctor, because that's the best place to have your blood pressure checked. Like any other vital sign, it needs to be interpreted by the doctor. Not high blood pressure is different on different people. But nowadays, you do. The doctor sees that you have high blood pressure, they're going to make recommendations. It's important because blood pressure is one of the most important risk factors for stroke. Even if you control the blood pressure, even if you drop your blood pressure by 10 points, it reduces your risk of having a fatal stroke by 50%.
Wow.
That's significant.
That is significant.
That's worth investing in.
Yeah.
You know? So it's very important. And the problem with blood pressure that is usually silent. Most people have no idea that they have it. No idea. They feel fine, they act fine.
So what are some of the risk factors then?
Other risk factors are obesity. One of the big risk factors is smoking. Smoking is directly related to stroke and heart disease and many other things. Also having an unhealthy lifestyle, not exercising enough, okay? Not sleeping enough. These things are all factors that increase our risk for stroke.
Stress too, right?
Stress major, yes.
Yeah. And so preventable, you've mentioned diet, healthy diet, exercise. Is that kind of, we hear that for everything though, right?
Well, the Heart Association has actually listed 7 simple things, 7 things that are key to preventing all kinds of cardiovascular disease, which includes stroke. And the first 4 are really person related. It really depends on the person to take it upon themselves to do. Number 1 is not to smoke. So if you don't smoke, don't start. And if you smoke, quit. Number 2 is, we talked about having a healthy lifestyle, exercising about 150 minutes a week, which is 30 minutes, 5 days a week. It's like a little bit of work. It's like your work break. The other one is to having a healthy eating a healthy diet, and also trying to maintain a healthy weight. Those are 4 things that are kind of in your own prerogative to do. Yeah. The last 3 things you need a healthcare provider. You need to know your blood pressure, you need to know your cholesterol level, and you need to know your sugar, if you have diabetic or not. Those are the other 3 risk factors.
quickly, you talk about smoking. What about vaping? Is that in there as well? Because we hear, if there are any young people who are watching this, there are a lot of young people who are vaping.
It's hard to tell, but the problem with vaping is we don't know what's in it. And it sometimes leads to, it's a lot of controversy about that right now, but still most practitioners will say vaping is a no-no.
Yeah. Okay, we have 1 minute left. I want to get to your baby, the Heart Walk.
Fantastic.
So tell
Thank
us all
you.
about it, when it's going to take place, etc.
So thanks. So for those watching and for everybody sharing, it'll be November 24th, the week of Thanksgiving. It'll be at 8 a.m. It's going to be downtown Miami. And if you are in Miami or in Broward County, there is no better place to have a walk or a run. There'll be a runner's lane this year too, so for those that may look at it and say, well, I don't know about a walk, bring your family, let them walk, you can go for a run. And there will be a runner's lane, and it'll be that morning. If you've lived in Miami for more than a minute during the summer and in November, end of November is a fantastic time to be outside at 8 or 9 in the morning. So the idea there is we're going to have an enormous amount of support. The community is going to rally behind us. And we're going to have well over, hopefully, 10,000 people in attendance would be the goal. So that's what we're aiming for. That's what we're hoping. There will be educational materials. We'll have some local survivors that will be there as well. And the idea is let's get out there, let's get healthy. You mentioned that everybody says you got to eat better, you got to quit smoking. It doesn't matter what the organization is. For here, it's about creating the awareness, the education, and getting people outside so they can learn what the organization does and at the same time have some fun.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for what you're doing, and thank you so much, Doctor, for being here. We appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Great information. And to learn more about stroke prevention and how to get heart healthy, visit heart.org/stroke. We'll have more information for you on our Facebook page at Your South FL.